Hi, my name is Fred Satilli, and this is the podcast for the Voters Union of Accountability Nation. This is episode 21, and it's titled, Me? Wrong? And the reason for that title is, if there's one thing that people in general don't want to ever admit, is that they're wrong. They might admit they're wrong on some tiny issue, like, oh, I thought this was $1.50, it turned out it was only $1, I guess I was wrong. But what they don't want to admit is that their philosophy is wrong. What they've based their whole life on is wrong. And it's hard for them. And they look in the mirror and they say, I'm a nice person, I'm a smart person, not me, how could I have been wrong? Not wrong all along. I just couldn't. I couldn't have been wrong all along. I mean, some of these people, 4, 5, 6 decades of having the whole wrong idea and missing the whole point and contributing to the havoc that we have now in our society. Now, I want to start out by saying there are 7 good reasons to vote for Obama or Hillary or Biden or any Democrat candidate. There are 7 good reasons. But before we talk about those reasons, the fact is this. Democracy leads to socialism. Socialism leads to communism. Communism replaces morality with control. Control leads to tyranny, and tyranny leads to everybody being exploited literally to death. So supporting democracy supporting democracy innocently up front is innocuous enough at the beginning, but it leads to the inevitable. So if you supported Democrats all your life, what you did was bad. It was harmful. And it was wrong of you to not recognize this and to not, after decades of life in America and reading unbelievable amounts of material and seeing an unbelievable amount of news broadcasts and looking at the decline of culture and everything all around you, decline of society and morality, how you could look at yourself in a mirror and say, no, I was right all along. I'm a good person. I'm a smart person. I did the right thing. I've always voted for Democrats, and I still will. And, so what we're going to do is I'm going to list the 7 reasons to do that, because there are 7 good reasons to do that. And we're going to see what you think of your decisions after you hear the 7 reasons. So here we go. Reason number 1, you could be a racist or a gender bigot. A lot of white people voted for Obama because they were racists. There's no such thing as reverse racism. If you vote for somebody based on race, even if it's not your race, if you vote for somebody based on race, you are a racist. There is no reverse racism. There's only racism. It's like conspirator. There's no co-conspirator. You're just a conspirator. Everybody who conspires is a conspirator. There's no co-conspirator. There's no reverse racism. And it's the same thing for gender bigotry. If you're going to vote for somebody because he's a man or she's a woman, you are a gender bigot. There's no getting around that. If that's your reason, you want to vote always for the best qualified person, disregarding race, class, and gender. Okay? The second reason, you might be being paid to do this, and that's a good reason to do something, even if it's a bad thing. If you're getting paid to do something, you at least have a rational reason. And you say, well, who's getting paid to do that? Well, Hollywood, academia, and media. Those people are all being paid to push the communist agenda. So if that's you, now we know your reason. Now, the third reason, you might be ignorant. And apathy is huge in this country. There's a lot of people that don't care. They don't run the country, so they don't care how the country is run. As long as they get their pension or whatever their benefits are, they let the chips fall where they may, and that kind of apathy is a good reason to vote for a bad candidate. Turns out you didn't care, so you just threw your vote down and, for no reason, too apathetic to even have a reason. But apathy could be a reason why you voted for somebody like Barack Obama, who just tried to sell out this country to Islam. It was a real bad thing that he did, and a lot of people voted for him. Now, just like ignorance, you could be stupid. And it's a harsh word, but if you know what the word average means, and I've said this before, but if you know what the word average means, you have to realize that half of the population is below average. They're not real smart people. And 10% of the population has such a low IQ that they wouldn't even be allowed by law to be accepted into the Army. Now, 10%, 10% with 330 million people, that's 33 million people are not smart enough to be able to do any job that might be in the United States Army, not even working in the kitchen or doing maintenance or whatever. So that's 33 million people who are voting, but their analytic skills, their ability to pick a good representative is no better than a toss of the coin. So that's a bad thing. Now, number 5 is a real good reason to vote for these people is you might hate America. And of course, this would be Islam, death to America, right? There are people in this country who hate this country for whatever reason, for whatever weird bigot reason they have, or whatever irrational reason, or whatever it may be. They just hate America, and that's a good reason to vote for a Democrat that would promote socialism, promote communism, promote tyranny, and we would end up all being killed like Stalin's people or Pol Pot's people or Castro's people or any of the other communists. Venezuela's doing great right now. People are starving to death. That's what happens. Communism, your people are going to die horribly. So that. Now, just like you might hate America, reason number 6 is you might hate yourself. And right now, we have a school system that if you display a really strong sense of self-esteem, they're going to take that away from you and knock you down and tell you that you're not worthy and you're it's kind of funny. They have all things like no fat shaming or no gender shaming or whatever kind of thing. They want you to have some self-esteem, but they don't want you to have so much self-esteem that you start to think for yourself. So if you've been taught to think that you're really not worthy, then that might be a good reason to vote for somebody who's got a progressive bent. Okay, and progressive obviously is a code word for Democrat. Don't be fooled. And of course, you would be fooled if you're below average IQ. And the last one, right along with the self-esteem thing, is, in the whole education problem that we have is you might be indoctrinated. And real good examples of this are, of course, climate change, a fake problem. There is no man-made climate change. There's no way for modern science to affect the climate really very much at all. So the idea that money has to be put towards this is ridiculous because nobody has a plan of attack on it. And until they do, what are you financing? So indoctrination is really bad. And while we're talking about indoctrination, I want to mention the word COVID because all through history, diseases, whether it's the Hong Kong flu, the Spanish flu, or Lyme disease, they've all been named after the place where they came from. But this new one, the Chinese flu, or what I always call the VUAN flu, the entire media, the entire I don't even know who really controls this. They've gotten together with everybody somehow, and they've said, we're not going to incriminate China or Wuhan. We're going to exonerate them for responsibility from this, and we're just going to make up a name that doesn't really connect this problem with it, and we're just going to call it the COVID. It's a nice word, the COVID. It's kind of a name like, hey, how you doing? I'm COVID Jones. Hey, yeah, I'm Bobby. Nice to meet you, right? It's the COVID. We're fighting the COVID. It's not being connected to a place of origin, and everybody's been indoctrinated to do this. Everybody does this now. Very few people are honest enough to put the blame where it lies, and that's a problem for me, So those are the 7 reasons: racist, being paid, ignorant, stupid, hate yourself, hate your country, indoctrination. And this indoctrination, we live in a culture right now where we had a guy whose campaign slogan was, "Yes, we can." And everybody knew what that meant. It meant that we could childishly indulge our problem. We would be able to get away with that now. It meant we can be exempt from responsibility. Isn't that wonderful? And it meant we can foist our problems onto others. That's what Yes We Can meant. Everybody who voted based on that slogan was one of those people who had one or more of those 7 reasons to vote for a destructive leader. So, we have about 70 years now of people voting for destructive leaders. And the way that you know that they were destructive leaders is the destruction that's all around us. So, they did it for those 7 reasons that I illustrated, but most importantly, and you're seeing it now in a big way, they're still voting for them because they don't want to admit that they were wrong the entire time. Just imagine what they're going through, a lifetime of being wrong, and now they're being called out. Now we're looking at these cities on fire and these dysfunctional students and dysfunctional children and even dysfunctional adults and wild problems, sexual orientation and obesity and all these things that we didn't have before. This is all a result of this, or all a result of these 7 things, and all a result of this abdication of responsibility. These people don't want to admit that they destroyed America. They're doubling down. They're looking at Joe Biden, who's a guy who is mentally impaired, and they're okay with that because if they vote for the construction guy, the builder, the guy who's fixing problems and everything, he doesn't represent them. And they really don't want to admit that they were wrong. They don't want to admit to a lifetime of being a dedicated Democrat and therefore being the guy who was dedicated to creating all the problems we're having in this country right now. I don't know how you could handle it. I don't know how you could turn around and say, wow, for 40 or 50 years, I've picked the wrong people. I've contributed to destroying the country. I can't believe I did that. It becomes Judgment Day, and it's not Judgment Day before God or judgment, anything like that. It's you. You have to judge yourself. You have to look in a mirror and say, I've been wrong this whole time. It's so hard to do that. It's okay to be wrong about the price of a movie ticket, but to be wrong about your philosophy decade after decade, all the warning signs were there. The degradation has been really, really long, and yet somehow, because of those 7 reasons, you were either being paid or you were racist or you were stupid, you went with it. You were wrong, and you know it. And now you're stuck. You're stuck with it. And I'll tell you what, the truth is that all of you who did this, everybody on the left owes reparations to those on the right. all this damage you've done, destroying the black family, destroying fathers, all the damage you've done to kids, with the gender confusion and all of these terrible things that you've done, taking education away. You need to fix this. It's on you. I mean, we're doing the best we can to hold it together, but you're still continuing the damage. There will be people who will vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Just an angry destroyer, a maniac, and, you have to look in the mirror and you have to admit what's happened in this country, and you have to admit that you were part of it. And if you don't admit that, you do not have integrity. And if you don't have the integrity to do that, you have to face the fact that you're nothing but a great big broken mess. So you can come back. You can gain integrity by trying to repair the damage you've done, or you can remain a big broken mess, and you can double down and swear to, well, you can't swear to God because, but you can swear that you're going to remain a big broken mess till the day you die, rather than admit your responsibility, rather than admit you were wrong. And the big question is, and the only question really is what kind of person are you? Who are you? What are your values? What do you think about yourself? Do you have what it takes to restore your integrity? Or are you going to just go ahead and finish your life as a great big broken mess? Look in the mirror. Ask yourself. I'm going to heaven when I die. I don't have anything to account for. I don't have anything to atone for. Any of my sins, and there have been plenty, have been faced up to. My integrity's intact. I want your integrity to be intact. So please do what you can to be honest with yourself. The rest of us will really appreciate it, and we'll show that appreciation. And whether even if we do or we don't, still for your own soul, do the right thing for heaven's sakes. Restore your integrity so you can stand up, look at yourself in the mirror, and not be ashamed. My name is Fred Satilli. This is the Voters Union of Accountability Nation. This episode is about accountability to yourself. I hope you think this through. You're welcome to talk with me about it if you want to talk about it more. And God knows I'm easy enough to find. So thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. So long.